Line framework and language to make it easy to locate the research topic, gap, answer, and organizational forecast, if there is one. Our answer is no. There is topic, the gap, the answer, but they are not easily bound and they are not connected well. So this is the proof. The topic that the writer will discuss actually about historical research, the improvement of irrigation system and water management. And I think it tends to the knowledge problem because there are many ineffective words there. For example, they study about this in historical research, blah blah blah. So I think that it is not concise word. Then the research gap. It is too much information about the gap that the writers want to present about the water management taken from Western and then the policy from Europe for long-term economic sustainability and then subsequent research plantation and livestock and then many research the first age irrigation focus on policy and then after 1945 about water management. It will be the basic of economic transformation. But actually, the one that was discussed about the effect or the impact of Cold War to irrigation. Water management external assistance, but lack of explanation. So this one is present in the introduction, but actually what is the gap is not clear enough. And actually the gap in sentence 12 and 13, later on we'll present it. Okay, and then about this one, research answer. There is research answer in the three last sentences. The affection of Cold War that's impact the irrigation development and the central plain of Thailand, and then the connection of Cold War and Thailand irrigation system. But there is no problem statement really stated there. Is it organizational forecast? The answer is no. And actually those answers from the first question related to the second, and the third question will be explained by my team.
Okay, thank you. And the second question is, do the literature review provide enough information so that research topic get answer and organizational forecasts are clear and make clear the author's understanding position to the research topic? Yes, the answer is that yes, the author has provided many information, but the author doesn't listen clear explanation about the literature review. So yes, the author has provided many literature reviews, and not many. I think yeah, provide enough, not provide enough literature review, but has no clear explanation about the literature review. For example, the author when I see the letter review that is explained by the author, he seem makes the information seem not relate, and sometimes relate, seem relevant, but sometimes relevant. So make kind of this thing. For example, again in the text, for example, the author refers to some source or previous study. The author refers to some source like Brummelhuis, Arsafai, Panjanabia, which is from this literature review. The author doesn't show practical problems in the introduction. Then according to our observation, we think that the authors seem to study about the Cold War or external impact to the irrigation about the development in historical ways. We can see in line 14, but the concept that he saw, or he saw unclear information. For example, in the introduction, the author refers to, we become confused. For example, when the author refers to water management issue or irrigation issue, because irrigation and water management is not, how to say, is different, not similar. So sometimes the author so many ideas. We can see that water management and irrigation, it seems related, but not relevant maybe, or maybe seem relevant but not related. Then also the authors refers to the history. Actually, the author wants to study about the impact of Cold War, but in the introduction, the author also refers to the what after 1945. So, although the author say that after 1945, but I think it doesn't directly refer to the Cold War. So seem unclear. Then yes, our group says that from this introduction we are difficult to find the author's practical problem. Then also for the second question, does the author does the letter review make clear the author's understanding position to research topic? Actually, the author so state that this is different. He said or she said that this is my paper is different, my paper is different. But according to our analysis, but he saw too far gap for his introduction. For example, actually the author using, as I said that the author seem want to study about Cold War, but he refers to research gap. For example, by time, she refers to the issue in 1902 and 1945, and then the Cold War. So seem too long. I think it's better if she or he directly refers to 1945 and Cold War, not 1902. Then also, for example, actually the authors want to reverse or want to study about the external effects, meaningly Cold War to the irrigation. But he said that in his introduction that mostly the letter review refers to internal factors or internal issue, doesn't address the external factors. But she doesn't show the internal factors. She doesn't show the internal factor or issue that make the gap with his or her this topic. That's all. Thank you.
Because we have already integrated the 4 points of the questions to our answer, so the third analysis is much more like conclusions of our findings, and we concluded that we couldn't find an organizational features used in these introductions, and also language features in the handouts is, well, I have empathy for the author because it is not also my own mother tongue language. So yes, I think too many grammar errors. It makes it difficult to understand the introduction directly. So we conclude that the introduction contains literature review. It has research topic on this. It's actually not line, but sentence 14. It's probably already stated by my team member in the beginning. And it has also research gap. It is outlined in a line in sentence 12 and 13, and research answers, but explicitly explained in line or sentence 16. But we couldn't find research questions, and for that we identified that this introduction has also not, it doesn't have also organizational forecast. And for language features, we found that this lack of clarity, cohesiveness, and not free from grammar error, because much of the writings use inaccurate prepositions, unclear link between IDs, and many things I think that we learned from yesterday's session, like use of S in plural nouns, and then the subject and verb agreement, and so on and so forth. So yeah, that is our presentation. Thank you so much for your attention.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that. Before we start the questions, I'd like to just make a comment on the language. I mean, to kind of put language problems into perspective. The number of language problems that you can create is huge. But when Susan actually analyzed your papers, you know what she found? And I think she said this. Basically, there are 5 types of problems, or 5 types of errors that occur very, very frequently. So what we're talking about, you as a group, out of all the problems you could possibly make, we're actually only talking about 5 types of problems that need to be resolved. That's actually quite manageable. If you can actually focus in on just looking at your paper in terms of those 5 problems, you can wipe out most of the surface problems, the surface language problems that you have. This is not an impossible task. I mean, actually, your language isn't bad. It's actually fairly good. I mean, if you really look at this. But the thing is, I mean, we could take any one of your manuscripts and we can fill it with red ink. Why? Because we keep looking at the same mistakes happening again and again and again and again and again. But if you can actually wipe out those five errors in your papers, then you've wiped out a lot of the language problems. I would not feel overwhelmed by language, frankly. I think it is manageable. But you know, you're going to have to focus in on the use of articles. English is very, the English articles are very weird. You don't find languages doing what English, about what and the do. That doesn't happen in most languages. It's quite unique to English. There are a few other languages that do that, but it's quite unique. So you got to study that. You got to look at how in published work. Look at how people are using and the. There are certain kinds of patterns. I think Susan was explaining about new and old information and a couple of other features. And if you really start looking at your own work, am I talking about old information here, or am I talking about new information, for example? Just think about it in those terms as you're going through the paper, and chances are you could probably catch a lot of the article problems, and so forth and so on. So think about doing that. Okay, I got a question for you now, because this guy's raised kind of an interesting question. They said that there is a literature review here, but for us to say, but there's no practical problem, and to which I agree. I think, frankly, the literature review is just a recitation, a listing of what other people have done on a particular topic. If you don't have a practical problem, in other words, if you don't organize and you don't frame previous literature in terms of a practical problem, what's going to be the effect on the reader? What's the effect on the reader? Yeah, no, you guys have done your job. Yeah, you guys have done your job. Now, we're going to make them work a little bit. You did a nice job. Thank you very much. You can relax now. But, yeah, go ahead.
I think that the resource is not significant, and they lose interest to read further.
It's about significance, that's right. And that's exactly, and you can see, although they never used the word significance in what they were talking about, they were constantly referring to the significance. They were questioning the significance of the whole study. And that's absolutely true. their reaction is exactly what other readers are going to do. They may never use the word. Significance for us is our meta language. It's when we're talking about a special language for analyzing text. But without a practical problem, people will start to say, what's the significance of this study? And everything they were doing was dripping with that question, what is the significance? Why did Mr. Nerney make me read this damn thing in the first place? You could hear them saying that, but they were too polite to say that. Yeah, but no, seriously, that was it. Can we just say, or maybe a quick comment, if anybody has one, on introduction 1? Or not? I mean, if anybody had it, yeah, okay.
I just have one comment there. I think the main problem here lies on the lack of English mastery here. So it is clear that the author doesn't master English very well, and also I think the author doesn't edit his or her manuscript enough.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. Yeah. So that's to be sure. Okay. Well, thank you very much, guys. Nice job. Who wants to be the next volunteers? Or okay, who's volunteering?